Hi everyone, so this is going to be the answer key to the homework for exploring transformations. It says fill in the tables and graph the corresponding points. So pretty much they did f of x equals y. So if you go like -2, +1, -1, -1, 0, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then they took these x and y values and made a table, okay? So my suggestion to you is when you're doing this to have it on a separate sheet of paper because I'm not going to keep coming back to that paper. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to talk about the transformation. So we have f of x plus 2. So that plus 2 is on the outside. So the transformation is going to be a vertical and it's going to be up 2 units. So what I like to do is I like to write rules. Up 2 does not affect the x values in any way. So I'm going to leave x the way it is. But up 2 does affect the y values, and if you refer back to your notes for transformations, it's adding 2 to the y value. So I'm going to write this rule, y plus 2, and that's what's taking place here. So when you refer back to this, the x values are going to stay the same, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And the up 2, y plus 2, so I'm going to take each one of these values and add 2. So 1 plus 2, so I'm going to write this out the first time, and I won't do it again. -1 plus 2. So I'm referring back to these y values, and I'm just adding the 2 to each one of them. 2 plus 2. 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2. 3 plus 2. And 0 plus 2. So that's just me showing you the work that I'm adding 2 to each one of these. So 1 plus 2 is 3. -1 plus 2 is 1. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 0 plus 2 is 2. Now, I'm going to let you graph it. I'm not going to do that for y'all. That's something you can easily plot those there. And then you can see the transformation of up 2 from this original graph. So every time we make these, we always manipulate this table right here, the original parent function table. All right, for the next one, it says f of x minus 2. So it's very similar to the first one. Plus 2 on the outside went up 2. So minus 2 outside of the parentheses is going to go down 2 units. So once again, x will not be affected, but I'm going to take my y values, and down 2 means to subtract 2 from every y value that's here. So x values do not change. And my y values, 1 minus 2, -1 minus 2, 2 minus 2, 1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, and 0 minus 2. Okay, and you can graph those again on your own. All right, for number 3, now we're dealing with things that are inside the parentheses, so we know that moves to the left or the right if it's being added or subtracted. So we have f of x minus 2. So we always do the opposite, so remember that. If this is minus 2, it's really moving to the right 2. Just like if it was plus 2, it would actually be moving to the left 2. So anytime you're adding or subtracting inside the parentheses, it's left or right, and you always do the opposite of what you see. So when we move to the right 2, what's happening is we're adding to the x values. So in this case, right 2 means we're going to add 2 to each x value. There's nothing affecting the y values, so we leave those alone. All right, so now I'm going to refer back to my table here. So my x values, I'm going to add 2 to each one. So -2 plus 2 is 0. -1 plus 2 is 1. 0, 1, 2, 3, so I'm adding 2 to each one of those. And just to verify, 3 plus 2 is 5. The y values, there's nothing affecting them. That's why I just wrote a y there, so I know just to rewrite those. All right, now we're moving on to the next one. So for here, number 4, it says y equals f of, in parentheses, x plus 2. So once again, I'm going to do the opposite. So it's left or right. Since this says x plus 2, the opposite is going to be to the left, 2 units. So this time I will be subtracting 2 from the x values. And once again, y does not change. So -2 minus 2, -1 minus 2, 0 minus 2, and 3 minus 2. Y values again do not change. All right, there we go. All right, on to number 5 here. So number 5, now we have a number that is in the front being multiplied to f of x, okay? So it's 2 times f of x. So if you recall from the notes, this is an a value. The a value is greater than 1, so that is going to be a vertical stretch. And that vertical stretch is going to be by 2. So remember, vertical affects y values. So here there is nothing changing my x, so x is going to remain the same. Now my y values, I can treat this as being multiplied by 2. So I would take each one of these and multiply it by 2. So it'd be 2 times all of the y values. And another way I kind of think about this is f of x is y, so I could really say that this is 2 times y, and that gives me my rule there, okay? So x's will remain the same. And my y values is going to be 2 times 1, 2 times negative 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 1, 2 times 3, and 2 times 0 is still 0. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the next one, number 6. So this one here, once again, we're dealing with the a value, but this time the a value is less than 1, but greater than 0. So this is going to be a vertical compression by 1/2. And once again, x is not being affected. So vertical is y, and we're taking 1/2 of the y values. So x's stay the same. And the y values, so half of 1, you can put 0.5, half of a negative 1, half of 2, half of 1, half of 3. 3 halves are 1.5, and half of 0 is still 0. All right, on to number 7. Okay, so these are the tougher ones. These are the ones you kind of got to focus on the most. Remember, vertical, outside the parentheses, it is what it is. Inside is always the opposite, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we see f of 1/2 times x. So I told you in the notes, the first thing you should do is when you see a number being multiplied to x inside the parentheses, you take the reciprocal of that number. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. And now that we see the number 2, we can tell that is a stretch. And since it's inside affecting x, that's horizontal. So it's going to be a horizontal stretch by 2. So what we're doing here is we're taking the x values and we're multiplying them by 2. And the y values are not being changed at all, so we leave those alone. So 2 times negative 2, 2 times negative 1, 2 times 0, and 2 times 3 is 6. The y values we leave alone. And then you make the graph on your own. Okay, so now we have this other one where now we're multiplying y equals f of, in parentheses, 2 times x. So once again, you're going to take the reciprocal of this number being multiplied to x. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. That number is less than 1 but greater than 0, so that's going to be a compression, and since it's affecting x inside, it's horizontal. All right, so once again, y values don't change, so I'm going to write those down first. And then here, we're going to take half of these. So half of negative 2, half of negative 1, half of 0, half of 1, half of 2, and half of 3. And once again, you graph those on your own. Okay, for number 9, let's see what we got here. We have f of negative x. So this one you might want to reflect back to your notes, but I write the word rat, which is a reflection across the, and since it's inside affecting the x, it's pretty much straightforward, right? The reciprocal of that is still negative 1, so it doesn't change it. It's going to reflect across the y-axis, okay? Because what you're doing is you're negating all of the x values. So if it was positive, it becomes negative, negative becomes positive. So you're actually flipping it across the y-axis because you're changing the values of x, the positive and negative. All right, y values are not changed again, so 1, negative 1, 2, 1, 3, 0. Now for the x values, so negative 2 becomes positive 2, negative 1 becomes positive 1, 0 cannot change. The rule is negative x, sorry. So negative times 1 is negative 1, negative times 2 is negative 2, and then negative 3. Right. So that's the rule, negative x. For the last one, number 10, y equals negative f of x. So since the negative is on the outside, you can write like negative y, so now we know that the y's are being changed and x is not affected. This one is the reflection across the y-axis. Okay? Oh, sorry, x-axis. I'm not right, the y-axis, my bad. it is the x-axis, reflection across the x-axis. For here, x does not change. And the y values, you opposite. So -1, opposite 1, -2, -1, -3. 0 doesn't have an opposite, it's just 0. So that concludes the homework. If you have any questions, feel free to email.